Hi everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so honored and I'm so surprised that there's so many people here. I'm really great. So when we came to this country like years ago, there was only one church, and my mother used to drag us to church every Sunday. And now look at you all, I'm so surprised that there's even lessons in English. So this also telling on me that this is not happening in church. But thank you so much. Thank you all for taking the time to come out and spend your Sunday afternoon here to be open to learn about the importance of taking care of the essential part of who you are. You could have been anywhere this Sunday afternoon, but you chose to come here, and that says a lot about yourselves. I am Dr. Eleni. By training, I'm a clinical psychologist. I help people struggle with anxiety, depression, trauma, people who are in transition. Since the DC area is a transient city, there are people coming in and out. They only stay 4 to 3 years and they leave. So when they come in, they struggle with adjustment. So, and I also help couples and families that are in wounded relationships be healed through relationships. So from what I've heard, you guys covered a lot of things yesterday, and I'm so sorry that I missed it. I was somewhere else doing a workshop actually around parents and children who actually live in bicultural communities, you being Habeshas and also being in the American cultures, and how, and I'm sure all of you experience this, how difficult it is and challenging it is for parents and also for children. So what I'm hoping to do this afternoon is to touch on a bit on the prevalent diagnoses that come up within your age group. I'm also hoping we could actually get everyone listening to a couple of healing practices that you can implement, including breathing. So I'm going to go through a couple of examples. I'm sure we all go through times of being upset, sad, and disappointed. You fight with your parents or friends, you got a bad grade, your pet dies, etc. These emotions are very natural and normal. But eventually, a day passes by, a week passes by, months passes by, and you feel better. Even though the pain may not be completely forgotten, you get better. So what happens if these feelings don't go away? So I'm going to give you an example, and these names that I'm going to say are just made-up names, but the symptoms are accurate. So Alma's ended up in the hospital. Prior to her hospitalization, she was very active in school, got good grades, had many friends, her social life was full, and was filled with energy. People did not know. She was trying too hard to maintain this reputation that she ignored, thoughts that were coming into her mind. Then strange things started happening. She could not do her homework. She stayed away from her friends. She did not answer her phone calls. She refused going to school. And getting out of bed in the morning was really, really difficult. She had no motivation. She felt lonely and very lost. Once in that rut, it felt impossible for her to try and get out of it. She heard about cutting. Nowadays, you have videos on YouTube and all that stuff. How people hurt themselves to try and cope with their depression. She tried it, and it became a habit and go-to when she felt down. She started wearing long sleeves, so no one would see them. She started depriving herself from eating. She was irritable and angry at everyone, and most of all at herself. The voices in her head were awful, self-loathing, and hateful. She would have been happy if she stopped existing. Her grades were dropping, and she did not have the motivation or energy to try harder. She didn't care. There were many times she wanted to die. She became unsafe. So, when you're diagnosed with depression, it can be triggered or strike after any tragedy or emerge out of the blue. It can come from stress and pressure from your environment, school, friends, family, bullying, emotional and sexual abuse, and social media that damages your perception of self-image and self-worth. This is not only happening to her, but to a significant number of teenagers and also young adults in this country, and the statistics increases every single year. Now, let me give you another example. Meron was sitting in her freshman English class in college, trying to listen to her teacher. All of a sudden, she felt a surge of energy burst through her pit of her stomach. She clutched to the desk as the room started spinning into circles. She didn't know what was going on. After a few minutes, things started getting to slow down and she came back to reality. After that day, her body started anticipating that episode would happen not just every day, but in every single class. For the coming few months, it felt like she became the prisoner of her brain power. She then started getting bad grades. Her eating habits became abnormal, and she struggled with her social life. She didn't know what was happening to her. So this is called panic attack or anticipatory anxiety. This is just panic attack, but we all experience anxiety, all of us. Anxiety is good for us when it's at a lower stage because it gets us going. Without it, we're not going to do anything. But when it comes up high, we're not going to function. Even though we don't have panic attacks, I am sure we have fluttery stomachs. We call it butterfly. Sweaty palms when we get nervous. We have palpitation. These things happen to me as well when I'm nervous. So these are normal, but when it increases, it no longer becomes normal. So Meron later learned that these symptoms are not that common, especially for her age group that feel that constant pressure, stressors and triggers with many social media outlets. It's so common for all of them that they constantly have to compare themselves and they have to keep up with the latest and greatest trends. And someone was talking about, actually from yesterday's session that you guys talked about, Zaina, you mentioned it, is that the comparison that our parents are doing. Oh, college, so-and-so daughter or son, medical school graduate, whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. That's pressure, what causes anxiety, and it freezes us at times. So that's one of the things that we're talking about. So according to Harvard statistics, 1 in 3 will feel like have a chronic anxiety. Chronic like can't get out of bed, being in fetal position on the floor, and I can't move. And sometimes what happens to us is that, I'm sure many of us have experienced this, when we feel so much anxious and feel overwhelmed, we have projects to do or finish up this and that, we get paralyzed and in a paralyzed state, and we even end up not doing it. Or we kind of push it back, that's what happens, and we end up not doing it at all. So the other piece that we don't talk about, especially in our community, the depression mostly, everybody talks about it, anxiety we talk about it, but the following, I don't think I've ever heard it actually. So this is another example. Elias is in elementary school. He shouts out the answers without raising his hands. He constantly fidgets in his seat and can't sit still. He has to go to the bathroom more times than others just to escape. He interrupts and inserts himself into everyone's conversations. You know, those chattering little boys and girls in the classroom that the teachers tell them to shut up or be quiet and get out. Those. He gets distracted easily by every little thing shiny. He gets sent to the principal's office for disrupting class with the little things or big things. Then we have Masu, who's really smart in school. He daydreams out and on his own. He lost things constantly. He does his homework, takes it to school with him, but then he forgets to turn it to the teacher. At times, he waits until the last minute to start his project. So he procrastinates. He doesn't focus on anything that he's not excited about. So as adults, Arias and Masu, they both struggle in making it on time to work. They could not retain their job for a longer period of time. They worked so hard, but could not meet their potential. What do you think that is? Yay! Yes, ADHD. So that is attention deficit hyperactive disorder. That affects between 5 to 8% of the global population. So now let's redirect our conversations to healing and wellness. That's what I was asked to do, which is the fun part. Even though I can't talk about all the healing processes that we do in therapy, I can talk about a few of them. The main one. So, what do you think is the most precious thing that God gave us in order for us to live. And it's free. Fine. You guys, you have to live. You have to have it to live. I'm sorry? Yeah, air. Breathe. Breath. We don't have it with that. So, the breath is the first thing that we have accessible. We can use it to heal ourselves. So, let's review why deep breathing, we call it deep breathing, matters. So, when our body is calm, it's known as rest and digest mode. That's where you are, all of you are right now. So, your breath is normal, your muscles are relaxed, and your heart rate is normal. It's how you would be when you're watching a show relaxing, or now, right now, you watch me and listening to me. But suddenly, a dinosaur is chasing you. How do you think you would react? Run away. Not that we have dinosaurs, but or you're walking on the street and you're crossing the street actually and the car is coming and then you're seeing, and then once you realize that it's not going to stop, what do you do? Right. So when you experience a stressful event, like an unexpected dinosaur you're living with, your body automatically goes into what is known as flight or flight mode. Okay? And this happens, and when I say traumatic event, it's not only the car accident, it's not only going through or people who come from war, it's not only that, it's what happens in our household actually as well. The yelling, the screaming, all that. Your heart rate increases, your blood flow to muscles increase, your blood pressure increases, and your pupils dilate. Then you run for your life. But when your parents are screaming at you and yelling at you, don't do that. You stay within yourselves. Some of us, we fight back. Some, we don't. We're quiet. So what is that? So, it's not always safe or possible to run, to fight, or escape. That's when a person may enter in a freeze mode. Your stomach stops digestion, and your breathing becomes more shallow. Your muscles get tight and freeze. And this is not a cognitive choice. Your body does it on its own. These decisions are made at the level of the brain stem and the nervous system. So, this is what happens when we do experience sexual trauma. I have worked with many individuals who have gone through sexual trauma. In addition to that, I did work with individuals who have experienced torture in their own countries, Ethiopia including. So what happens is that when there's no way out, they freeze. They don't fight back. And sometimes also, when you get into a fight and when you see, I'm just giving an example, let's say in romantic relationships, they yell at each other and somebody hits somebody and the person freezes and they don't fight back, and you wonder, why the heck is she not fighting back or he's not fighting back? What happens? You freeze because there's no way out. So in these cases, the breathing might not work, but in the flight and fight mode, it does. In regards to sexual abuse, what happens is that what we call it is dissociate. So we escape. Our body is here, our mind is gone. The reason that happens is because your brain is doing you a service, check out, so that you do not have a witness of what's happening. And you've seen TV shows and all that, and sometimes, when these crime stories or whatever it is, when they do interview people, and then they're missing pieces, and people think that they're lying. It's not that they're lying, it's because their brain is checked out and they don't remember what happened. And this happens to a lot of actually the cases when it comes to torture survivors. So when I used to work with the torture survivors, it's not only the therapy aspect of it, it's also the evaluation piece of it as well. And this happens to also domestic violence. I used to work within that group as well. So when they need to go to court and they need to give us stories and generate the stories, and we write the stories, for the torture survivors, they are asking asylums. And for the domestic violence, they are either asking a restraining order or whatever it is that the court needs. And so when we do interviews, there are a chunk of information that's missing. So the court does not understand that. But biologically, it makes sense because they don't remember that piece of the story because their brain is checked out. And people think that they're lying. So, getting back to our breathing. The goal of calming exercise is to get yourself from the flight and fight mode and come back to rest and digest mode. Deep breathing helps get more oxygen into your bloodstream, opening up your capillaries. It has a physical effect on your body to help you calm down and lower stress. So having said that, who has heard of belly breathing or diaphragm breathing? Yay. Wow, great, wonderful. You practice it? That's sort of kind of, yeah. So, belly breathing or diaphragm breathing is our most efficient breath. It's also calming breath, we call it that. It taps into our nervous system and tells it to calm down. When we were first born, we were all born with belly breathing. That's what we did. Then we grow up. And then we get older. Then we tend to become more thoracic or chest breathers, we call it shallow breathing. So most of us do that, like 90% of us. We breathe from our chest instead of our belly. So if that's okay, would you be open that I can teach you how to do that? Yeah? Okay. So I'll just say loud. So put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach. And imagine that you have a balloon in your stomach. Okay? So when you take a deep breath, try to fill in that balloon in your stomach. Good. And then breathe out. Flatten your stomach. And breathe in.
So this is one of the things that you can do. You don't really necessarily have to put your hands on your stomach. You do it, you can imagine it, you can imagine that there's a balloon in your stomach and you fill it in and you just empty it. And what happens is that when you do that, like when you're nervous, when you're about to get an interview, when you're about to take an exam, when you're stressed out, it only takes like 2 minutes. If you just collect yourself, be in a corner or whatever it is, and if you do that, you will automatically feel the effect. And what I usually do with the clients that I see, the first thing that I tell them, that I show them is this actually, because it's really accessible. I do it myself. I read like that normally, because I've done it so many times. I don't know how to read from my chest. And I learned it from the yoga practice actually a long time ago. So what happens is that what I tell them to do is, what I suggest to do is for them to read this, to practice this all the time until it becomes automatic. So, and it will become automatic just like it became automatic for me. So I ask them to practice intentionally at least 5 times a day. Like right when they get up early in the morning, when they wake up, and right around like 10ish, 11ish, and then during lunchtime, and then in the afternoon around 4, and then right before they go to bed. If they do that and if they practice, then it becomes automatic. And then you'll have like a really calming body. It's not only that, when something happens, you can automatically get it. Okay? Okay. So there are other strategies for managing your stress and anxiety. Meditation is one of them. How many people know that meditation? Oh, great, wow, awesome. Meditation is wonderful. So there is a misconception about what meditation is. Meditation has nothing to do with religion. Nothing, even though it comes from Eastern religion, it has nothing to do with religion. So meditation is just sitting quietly. That's about it. That's all it is. And some people think that meditation you have to stop your thought. So only a few people can do that. But our brain is made to just think. That's how it is. That's the work that it does. So what you do in meditation is you can listen to soft music that's actually sitting there, and what is the bhajana? Is that what it is? So the rhythm itself is meditating. And just listen to that. And the masinko itself, if you just focus on the string, that's meditative. And what is it? What do they call it? Okay. You can have a mantarya, and then I know there's something that you say when you use the mantarya. Yes. So you can do that, and that's meditative on its own, and you don't even have to say anything. You can just count it. As meditative, it quiets your mind, it's repetitive. So you can practice that, and that calms your body, that calms your anxiety. And if it becomes a habit, actually, and if you become intentional about it, it's really, really helpful, not only for your mind, but the whole entire body. Your nervous system is kind of controlling what you do on a daily basis, every second. So I encourage you to do that and to listen to the bhajana and to mantarya and just sit quietly. And what happens also is that when you sit quietly, you have, of course, 10,000 thoughts that are coming into your head. Honor it. Don't try to repress it. one thought comes, you say, oh, I see you're here, thank you. Another one comes, I see, thank you. Another one comes, say, I see, thank you. The more you do that, what you'll find is that, and the frequency slows down. That if you try to repress it, oh, here we go, I'm sitting, and then these thoughts are coming, and I'm not successful at meditating, then you're not going to be successful at it. But just watch it, notice it, it's telling you something, because our brain is made to do that. And then visualization. And I'm hoping that all of you will be open. We'll do some visualization later when I finish, if that's okay with you. And using the breath. So that's one of the things that you can do as well. And the other thing also that you can do is working on projects. When I say that is gardening. Gardening is something that I'm trying to do. So gardening or something that's related to certain projects that you love doing so that your focus can be there. So that's one way. The other one is art. If you paint or if you draw, that's one of the ways that you can express yourself. And then also moving your body. If you like dancing, that's moving your body. And or if you go to yoga, you do yoga. If you learn Pilates, and that's one of the things that you can do. And journaling, one of the things that I encourage people to do with my work is journaling. Journaling helps you express yourself, express your thought. So if you can do it like on a daily basis, it will be great at the end of the day. Just writing what happened. And also what we call self-monitoring. And when we do that is really paying attention to our emotions and being intentional about it. Meaning that I feel anxious or I feel discomfort. Every one of us feels discomfort in our body. So when we pay attention to it and ask, what is that? Is it anxiety or is it something else? Is it sadness or am I happy? So you can monitor that. By doing that, you can find out what your triggers are. Because our body reacts based on what we see. We see, that gets interpreted in our brain, and then we respond. So if we pay attention to what we feel, it's basically telling us something's happening around this area that I'm feeling this way. So monitoring that. And then eating healthy, exercising, engaging in healthy relationships. Then of course, therapy, what I do, is really helpful. Helpful in the way to express yourself, how you feel, and what's happening in your life. And by that, you're going to get some support and how to manage whatever is happening in your life. So I encourage everyone to go to therapy. That's something does not have to happen for us to go to therapy. Actually, one of the people that said yesterday in the seminar, she's a mother, and she said, therapy is like jara in my house. So I go it that way. So let's get into the breathing. So have you heard of mindfulness? Mindfulness is a trend nowadays, yeah? Okay. So mindfulness is the awareness that arises from paying attention in a particular way on purpose to the present moment without judgment. So when we do this breathing, I'd like to remind you that it's totally okay not to do it if you don't feel comfortable. Okay? Once you see how it feels like, and then if you want to engage, it's fine. If not, that's fine. With any practices, you need to have a choice. Okay? So, and
through this, you'll give yourself a sense of becoming aware and then allow yourself to receive it. So this particular practice will be a brief practice of connecting to your breath, bringing your hands somewhere to your body where you can feel your breath. And then I'll make you go through an imagery of breathing in and out of the heart, and that will be the container of the practice. So you can begin by finding a place that feels supportive where you are, and right now it's your chair. So it's nice to start by connecting to the support that is already available to you. Maybe it's the ground underneath you. And take a moment and sense that support and let yourself receive it. Maybe you can relax the body in some way because of the support that is there for you. Feel free to close your eyes or drop your gaze. It's always nice to begin a practice with an intention. So the intention that you might set for this practice may be opening to appreciate you being here. Maybe opening to appreciate your body that does all the work for your survival. Maybe opening to change. Maybe opening to whatever feels right for you. Maybe you allow yourself to thank over the next few minutes. May this practice support my capacity to open to the change that I need and to trust myself so that process and support myself. Notice that you are already breathing. Notice your breath entering your body. The breath exit your body without having to control it. There is in the breath a natural energy of change. Take a few breaths, sense that. Each breath arises anew, each breath of letting go. Now, place your hand somewhere in your body where you can feel the physical movement of your breath to your heart. And let this feeling like a gesture to connect to yourself. When you breathe in, there is an expansion that happens. It's already happening, and you don't need to force it. See if you can sense the expansion when you breathe in, and the expansion dissolving when you breathe out. Allow your hands to listen to or witness the breath. Noticing how it feels like to breathe in and breathe out. Return your hands on your lap or by your side. Bring your awareness in the area around your heart. Your physical heart nestled between your lungs. When you breathe in, there is a natural expansion of this area as the lungs expand, and that expansion dissolves as you breathe out. See if you can sense
that sudden expansion as you breathe in. And that expansion softening as you breathe out. Perhaps you can sense that flow of the energy of the breath around your heart center. So I'm going to invite you to imagine that you can actually breathe in and out of your heart center. What if the breath were entering your body directly at the heart and literally infusing the heart with energy and strength? And imagine that as you breathe out, the breath could be an offering from your heart. Just imagine what this would feel like. There is a sensation of breathing into the heart. Breathe out of the heart, inviting the breath to nourish and energize and strengthen your heart. So we always end practices with some sort of dedication or commitment. Since we're starting our journey here, the journey of appreciation and care, appreciation of your body, appreciation of positive change, appreciation of God. I invite you to work or if you dedicate the time that you spend in the seminar or this reading practice. Dedicated to opening, appreciation, change, or whatever else you'd like to dedicate it to. And I like to use phrases like, may I open myself to the gratitude and joy and compassion that will support me in the changes that I'm seeking. May I open my heart to gratitude, to joy, compassion, to connect with others, for God. May I open my heart to see the good in myself. If your eyes are closed, open and slowly. Does it feel? Is it good practice? So this can give you a sense of mindful breathing and heart breathing, how to drop it into a state of mind and body that is both strengthening the qualities of gratitude and